anyone? The tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which anyone raised or raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Anyone? What the frickin' frack? And we were on the air yesterday. Hi, everybody. I'm Patti Vasquez. I'll be your host this evening. In a few moments, musician Chris Jones will be joining us. He's got a show tomorrow at Epiphany, and we'll talk more about that when he comes in. I know he's in traffic. I know there's a lot of people on the Kennedy. Man, you got to make the right choice when you get on the Kennedy if coming out of downtown, because if you get in those express lanes, by the way, it's not the express lanes. Express is not an accurate description at this point of construction on the Kennedy, because they've eliminated two of the outbound lanes and have made what was previously kind of the express lanes just a straight shot to the Edens. If you get on what traditionally are express lanes, and by the way, you're like, oh, this is amazing. Look at all those suckers over there. They're all stuck in those two lanes and not going anywhere. You know what they can do? They can get off the Kennedy. You cannot. And you will have to go all the way to the Edens. I do appreciate for those who perhaps are looking for O'Hare Airport, Foster exit is very well marked for get off here if you want to make it to your flight. So at any rate, it's just messy on the Kennedy. Please, folks, if you do travel into the city, consider taking your Metra, your Blue Line. Those are the folks who are on the Kennedy. It's very convenient. You just drive to the Metra, drive to your nearest Blue Line stop. But for the love of for all that is good and kind, please take care of yourselves and try to stay away from the outbound Kennedy for a while, because it is nasty. I feel so bad that Chris is even coming. I mean, I look forward to seeing him. So I don't feel that bad, but I do feel awful that he was stuck in traffic. But we were on the air yesterday with Dwayne Kennedy as these tariffs were unpacked, and oddly, he had this this funky board of showing us what he was doing, including islands that are uninhabited except for by penguins. I believe a protest has broken out by the penguins. I was sent a video of the penguins protesting the tariffs that are going to befall them. There was also no tariffs that are going to impact anything from Russia. So I guess you can keep drinking that sweet, sweet Russian vodka because we want to make sure we keep Putin happy. And the markets were tanking yesterday. The after-hours markets were tanking as Dwayne and I were on the air. The last I had seen as we left around 7 o'clock, it was about 1,000 points. And today it was the largest drop just off that cliff. I believe it was 1,600, the biggest drop since Trump was last president. So he brings that along with him. And again, people twisting themselves into pretzels that this is necessary. And then they're repeating the lies that this country, that our coffers were filled by the money from tariffs before we began income taxes around World War I, which is incredibly untrue. They're lies, and you're just repeating lies. Just so we're clear on that. If you want to get a degree in what our financial system and institutions look like prior to, I believe is it 1911 or so, or 19? Let me take a look. I know we have been arguing. A lot of folks have been arguing about this online. Here's the thing. Repeatedly, our administrations throughout the history of the United States have tried to figure out ways to pay for things, including Abraham Lincoln, who was trying to find creative ways to pay for the Civil War. And the idea that we have basically isolated ourselves, and that's what it feels like to me. I know folks have different ideas of why he's doing this. The result is that we are incredibly isolated from the rest of the world. And for me, it feels as though they want us to be as dependent as possible. And Randy Rhodes talked about this on her show last night, this sort of father figure that will be desperate enough that no matter what they ask of us, no matter what our American government asks of us, because they are the ones now supplying everything, them and the oligarchy, that we will acquiesce and do the horrible things or accept the horrible things. So that's kind of the dark place that I go to when I think about it. At any rate, I'm glad that we get to keep having these conversations and talk it through with each other. I am, in fact, hydrating tonight. I do not have my big, my emotional support cup, my travel mug with me because I have to wash that. Make sure you're washing all of your. I don't like wasting either, but there it is today. At any rate, we have on the show today, coming up in just a little bit, we'll be joined by musician Chris Jones, who will be in studio with us. Again, he is performing this weekend. We'll find out more of the details when he joins us. We'll also be joined by, as Joan mentioned, Reid McCollum, who is the chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage County. Man, that was a great number to hear. Joan was talking about how much more, one of her guests was talking about how much the Democrats have been involved in local races across the state and with the leadership of, the money that Governor Pritzker has put into these races. And I believe they said out of 280 races that they got involved in, it was over 220 that they were successful in. And that is massive. And a lot of them, I believe, almost all of the candidates that we've talked to, and I have to go back and double check, won their races. A lot of the guests that we had on the show to talk about their campaigns were successful in their races. So congratulations to everybody, including our friend Henry, who I have had the pleasure of traveling to Springfield with to advocate for our children when Governor Rauner was in office and absolutely decimated social programs across the state, something that I think we are now looking at again now at a federal level, which is daunting, but we are here for it, folks. At 6 o'clock, we will talk to Sarah Garza Resnick, CEO of Personal PAC. Of course, we are huge fans of the work that they do, making sure that our electeds are committed to protecting the rights of the autonomy of women and girls and those who want to be able to have the ability to plan for their future. So we look forward to that conversation coming up at 6. And it's just a lot to take in when it happens this fast. We know it's been at this pace, not just since the inauguration, but even in the weeks leading up to the inauguration, all the ridiculous appointees that we'd heard about. Now we are experiencing the impact of what these people, how inept they are, truly inept. Hegseth and McMahon, Rubio, I mean, coming out and essentially removing our protections in the Constitution that if we think you committed a crime, you do not get due process. Because if they say that someone who committed a crime doesn't get due process, because they're here illegally, that's the crime that they commit, then nobody gets due process. When is it your turn to not qualify for due process? Because they've said, Republicans have said, if you commit a crime, they've said it. I'll have to find the audio, but I think it was a woman out of Indiana who said, if you commit a crime, you do not deserve due process. Make that make sense, folks. It does not. Just to be very clear about that. Not only does it not make sense, but it is a crime against Americans. And I wonder about that. The guy who was scooped up by ICE and has been sent down, that they say was now a clerical error, that he was not supposed to be removed from the country. And I wondered about this legally because the press secretary has said, she said that he was in the gangs, he was involved in human trafficking, none of that he was investigated. He was fleeing from those gangs. He did not want to be in the gangs. They were threatening him, his family. He fled here, sought asylum, and he was allowed by a judge to stay here legally while President Trump was in office. This is back in 2019. But man, the full-throatedness with which they convict somebody, and now I honestly don't know if it's possible. I don't think that they will bring him back. I do think they have the ability, because what he's going to be on every news show telling us how horrific it is, how his rights were trampled, how dangerous, how dehumanizing it all is, the truth of what's happening there. And I know I had a listener get really mad the other day when Scott Stantis on Friday said that these are concentration camps and gulags, and they're like, you can't. I mean, what do you call it when we dehumanize people, when they say that they are animals? What do you think is next? I'm just curious. You don't think it started this way, saying that people don't get due process, that we'll round people up without it will there was one woman who has fled to Canada. She learned that her student visa had been removed, and she was accused of being a supporter of Hamas. This is in New York. I think she's I don't know if she's at Columbia, but she is giving interviews now talking about how she would learn that her student visa had been revoked. They had come looking for her, and she fled. She got on a flight and got to. I don't know how they didn't stop her at the airport. Maybe she didn't. I don't know what the details of that. I don't know how quickly in the system you're able to. It pops up that you have to be detained at the airport. I don't know how they're doing overlapping communications with TSA, but she was able to leave the country, and she was at protest. And so she's a student who is here on a visa, and now what they're saying is that if you say things that we don't like, if it smacks of being supportive of Hamas, right? But a lot like my son protested at the University of Chicago, right? And he wasn't supportive of Hamas. He was saying, don't annihilate human beings by bombing Gaza to hell. I mean, this is what the kids are fighting for. That families are eliminated, crushed under buildings, hospitals bombed. And so the fact that if you're here, you have to shut up. I don't think that's necessarily because there are plenty of people who were born here who do things that I don't like, so they get to do it because they were born here. The rate at which white men commit crime, right? Like if I was to target a group that has committed crime against me personally and my family, it's pretty much all white men, folks. So do I get to have a say in like who gets to go? But because they were here legally, it's okay that they did that they raped, they murdered. Is that what we're talking about? I'm just trying to get clarification here, because the rate at which migrants and people who are here, who are documented, the rate at which they commit crimes pales. It doesn't even come close. And we've talked about how much white-collar criminals get away with it every single friggin' day and create the system under which so many people are driven to an economy that is illegal, that is street crime, that is creating their own dynamics, whether it's within gangs, because we choke off resources to neighborhoods. What are they going to do if we're not going to invite them into the process of creating this society and say that you don't get to have good schools, you don't get to have access to mental health programs, to jobs, right? And don't give me so many things to scream about. So let's not scream about our sponsors. I mean, I could scream. I love my sponsors. Thank you so much to my sponsors who make the show possible. Thank you to Source Solar. You can go to source.solar and make an appointment. See if it's time for you to put solar panels on your house or on your business. Over 100,000 happy customers in the Chicagoland area. Peter and Warren will be back in studio with me on April 14th. And you can go check out our last conversation. It's available at heartlandsignal.com. Again, really honored to pair up with them, as I have for the last several years worked with Minocqua Brewing Company. Man, Kirk is not messing around in Wisconsin, and I know he is still celebrating that tremendous victory, both with the Supreme Court race and getting Justice-elect Susan Crawford on the Supreme Court, as well as School Superintendent Jill Underly and multiple races across the state of Wisconsin. So thank you, Kirk Bankstead. Go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. You can check out my latest piece about the billion dollar cheese turd who thought he could buy Wisconsin races. And I also want to thank our friends at Kids Above All. Go to kidsaboveall.org and support their mission. Let's take a break here. Thank you for tuning in on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150 AM in Seattle. We'll be right back.
Think Theory Radio.
We're joined by Allie Mae Miller, hypnotherapist.
Hypnosis is portrayed in media in general. Manipulation, mind control. People think it's like a truth serum. My clients describe it as they're in control the whole time. It's definitely not a truth serum. The client decides what they share with me, even in a state of hypnosis.
Think Theory Radio with Damian Perdue. Saturdays at 6 p.m. on WCPT 820.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
Or Pete.
When she rattles by, for 7 years, paid my dues in this heartless town. I know they'll never miss me, but I know they're around. Every night I've had that train running through my mind. Soon I'll know just where it goes. Tonight I'm gonna ride. Shoulder pack, safe enough for me to know they're never coming back. Can't wait to feel that diesel pound waiting for my face. Underneath the moon sky, I'll plan for better days. Every night I've had that train running through my mind. Soon I'll know just where it goes. Tonight I'm gonna ride.
That's Chris Jones and the Night Riders. The night drivers. Sorry, Chris. Chris is like, drivers is a drivers. It's Chris Jones and the Night Drivers. They're performing tomorrow night at is it Epiphany is the name of the event?
Yes,
a beautiful venue that I saw you a couple years ago.
Epiphany Arts Center, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful venue. I don't think they still don't do comedy over there. I should have a conversation with them about that. Chris Jones, you've made it. I'm so sorry about the Kennedy. I really, you know what? I think that it kind of reflects our new relationship with your now home of Canada. Does it kind of does it make you think, why did I come here? What am I doing in this country again? I mean, you're from here, but
it's a bit of a mess out there. Yes, no, but I have been up there for going on a couple of decades.
Wow,
so it's crazy.
Yeah, there's no way for me. Like, it's such a part of my experience to because I can take the Kennedy and be in the express lanes and not be too far off from where I live. Yeah. And so I don't think about it for other people, and I apologize because we talked earlier today, and I was also on the Kennedy, so I knew it was terrible.
Well, I should know better because I lived here for 4 years, so and lived on the north side, and I knew about the Kennedy. But we rely on these GPS time estimates more than we should, and those things can change very quickly. So
yeah, if there's an accident, if there's or people getting out of work in between you where you were coming from in Indiana to Chicago. So welcome.
So good to be here.
Excellent. I avoid asking people how they're doing because their faces often that expression that's the one I don't know like they freeze. So I ask them if they're hydrating. Are you hydrating, Chris
I am
Jones?
hydrating. That's thanks to Jerry who handed me a cup of water here.
Excellent. Yes, it's self-care.
Yeah.
I know that you've been stressed, so we can do a little bit of maybe I'll do a little of this while we settle in a little bit, just to try to relax a little bit. And this is for everybody else that's on the Kennedy right now. I mean, don't close your eyes to meditate. Just do mindfulness driving and just a little deep breathing. Yeah.
Love it.
Well, not just for the traffic, but for the world. There's so much going on, Chris. So first, let's talk a little bit about how people are reacting in your neck of the woods in Canada.
I think people in Canada were completely taken by surprise. I mean, they knew about Trump. They thought okay, this probably isn't going to be good. But I don't think anybody saw any of this coming, and he had never really talked about imposing tariffs until after he was elected. I mean, he did in general, but not at Canada, Mexico, 25%. There was shock there, and then when the Governor Trudeau 51st state stuff started, shortly thereafter, then it really got. And I'm not saying this is the right thing for anybody to do, but it's a pretty significant thing if the Star Spangled Banner is booed at a hockey game. That's unthinkable, and that's how people were just in shock. They did not know how to react. Politicians at first did not know how to react, and like it goes with this era. It's just all kind of unpredictable. But I just don't think people in the North were ready for this, and there was also a deep sense of betrayal.
I agree, I'm embarrassed. I mean, because we didn't hear anything about, getting rid of the border, like that it's movable, it's imaginary, whatever crap he's saying about it. That was never discussed before. I mean, like there was something about sharks and being eaten by a shark or electrified in a boat. There was Hannibal Lecter. There were all kinds of nonsense. Never we're gonna invade Canada and Greenland. Like that was never discussed. But here's the thing. My question to you, because the conservatives here are doubling down. They're twisting themselves into believing that this is absolutely what they voted for, including the Doge bags in D.C. and what Musk is doing. But also, we need Greenland. Like all of a sudden, they're big fans of fighting with Denmark and the rest of the world. What are the conservatives? And are you hearing anything? Because they had the big truck protest. They drove down here about the masks and the vaccines and the mandates. Are they at all going, oh, okay, we're not that crazy?
Well, within the conservative movement in Canada, the trucker convoys, it was still on kind of the fringe of that. And then I think there was some split within the Conservative Party. And the Conservative Party of Canada is really a coalition between a center-right and a right-wing party that came together. And so there is still a kind of split where if you identified and tried to defend the trucker convoy and the kind of Eddie Vex fervor that was going on, then that puts you kind of in that category. They ended up choosing a person supportive of that as the party leader. This is Pierre Poilievre. And so that's kind of where that's at. But even within that movement, not so much on the far right of it, but the rest, they don't even know what to make of this, and so nobody has known how to react. Poilievre has come out with strong words about it because he has to, because you'll never win an election if you don't stand up to Trump in some ways and say we're going to, and so now the argument to make is which person is going to be the stronger person for Canada. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a 25 to 30% poll jump in favor of the Liberals. I think just because of the governing party, and all of a sudden Trudeau didn't look so bad. Everybody, it was an amazing couple of months to witness all of this.
It really is jarring. I did not know about the jump in polls for Liberals.
Yeah, the Liberals were down close to 30%.
That was
just assumed they were going to get, and this is really what led to Justin Trudeau's resigning. It was time to get somebody else in because this was going down in a hurry. And so, I mean, it was not at all gradual, and all of a sudden they were pulling within. They thought it was shocking that they were pulling within 5 points. This is before a new leader was even selected.
Right.
This is with no one leading. They had pulled in with
whoever it is, as long as they're not conservatives.
And then they brought in Mark Carney, the guy with a financial background, and all of a sudden they're leading in all of what they call majority government territory, meaning you're leading in polls enough that you would win enough seats to hold an outright majority and wouldn't either run a minority government or have a coalition. So that's big.
That is wild. And I don't know if you saw some of the results of races. Florida, notwithstanding, and we were hoping for 2 congressional. I mean, like it was such an outside the chance, but at least we cut what Trump had won by. He won by 30 points. The Democrats lost by 14 points or 15, around that. But to win by 10 points in Wisconsin for the Supreme Court race was massive. A big FU to Musk and his money, which was great. And I suspect, I think a lot of people showed up specifically for that, to tell him that they were not for sale.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was really encouraging to see that 10-point spread, and just the fact that money can't buy every election.
Yeah, and look, we went up there as often as we could. We were going up almost every weekend, and to go door knocking and do as much as we could as we are annoying fibs for Wisconsin. I have a logo and everything, and I'll tell you, I mean, people were ticked off. All we had to say was that he was trying to buy the race, and they were all in on that. We are hanging out with musician Chris Jones, with Chris Jones and the Night Drivers. They are performing tomorrow at the Epiphany Performance Space. Is it Performance?
Yeah, it's the Epiphany Center for the Arts on South Ashland, South Loop area, and they have a few different venues within this beautiful place.
It's gorgeous.
And so we play in one of these music rooms at 7:30, and it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, you can check out that show tomorrow night. We'll learn more about how you get tickets in a moment on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KKNW 1150 AM in Seattle, Washington.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Cloudy tonight, a low of 42 degrees. Rain likely Friday with a high temperature of 48. Saturday, showers again, high temperatures in the upper 40s. Sunny on Sunday with a high of 47. On Monday, we'll see partly sunny skies with a high near 40. Tuesday, sunny and a high temperature of 44. Wednesday, sunshine with a high temperature of 56. Thursday, partly cloudy, highs in the 50s. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 48.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
The Randy Rhodes Show.
Oh, congratulations to the Fox and Friends weekend morning host, who's now our Secretary of Defense. He's a veteran, everybody. I know, I'm a veteran too. I'm pretty sure I wasn't on any of Kamala's short list for any cabinet position, but oh my God, these picks, it's almost like, well, there's a word for it. It's called patronage. Right here, right now on WCPT 820, weekdays 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time.
Hi, this is Dr. Jason Bassell. As it is I who voice these ads, it is I who get all the fame and glory. I can't even walk down the street without people recognizing me as that guy from Chicago Community Acupuncture and asking for my autograph.
Literally, that never happened.
Anyway, I want to tell you about my wonderful associates. These are experienced professionals who share my commitment to providing excellent and affordable care. We have Diane, a career Air Force veteran who earned her doctorate in Chinese medicine. Both Jay and Hee-Jay earned their medical degrees in China and the U.S. And we have James, who recently returned home to Chicago after practicing in Portland for years. I am so proud to have these excellent providers keeping Chicago Community Acupuncture open 7 days a week. How can people schedule, girls?
Well, they can go to chicomaco.com or they can call 773-853-0920. 773-853-0920. Milwaukee, Devon, and Nagel with great parking, great providers, and great prices. Schedule your appointment today.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
DuPage County continues to get out the vote and elect progressive candidates, so it's no wonder that there are now several local retailers carrying progressive beer from Minocqua Brewing Company. Be sure to grab yours from Famous Liquors in Lombard, Arminetti Beverage Mart in Roselle, Doty Liquors in Elmhurst, and Bobby's Liquor Warehouse in Carroll Stream, conveniently located next door to the DuPage County Democratic Office. A full list of Illinois locations that offer the Resistance lineup of beers posted at the top of the Patti Vasquez Show Facebook page, as well as at MinocquaBrewingCompany.com.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you for joining us as we continue to drive it home. And joining me in studio is guest co-host Chris Jones. Chris Jones and the Night Drivers will be at the Epiphany Chicago. Hold on a second. It's epiphanychai.com is the website, and their show is tomorrow at 7:30. It's the Epiphany Center for the Arts, the Sanctuary, 201 South Ashland Avenue. That's right here in Chicago. Again, go to epiphanychai.com. That's epiphanychai.com. Again, on April 4th. You must be 21 or over. So as much as we would love to have the kids come enjoy the show, it's such a beautiful venue. So it's something for your kids to look forward to be old enough to go into.
Exactly.
Just saying.
It's a goal.
It is fantastic. So that's again, and the doors open at 5 for the golden hour, 7 p.m. for the sanctuary. So you can spend time in different parts of it's an old church. Folks, it's so gorgeous. So speaking of gorgeous, there were some gorgeous races that were won in DuPage County. See what I did there? Chair of the DuPage County Dems, Reid McCollum, joins us. Hey, Reid, how are you doing today?
Patty, this is probably the best I've been in a long time. I'm doing real well out here in DuPage County.
Well, congratulations. So, how soon after the polls closed? Because I was watching Wisconsin a lot, so I was so obsessed with that. So I know you guys had your local races. The polls in Illinois closed at 7. How soon were you starting to get results in from all the different polling places?
Oh, it took maybe an hour or so. We had some early indicators from tapes from some of the polling places that looked like the election day turnout itself was very favorable for us. So that was definitely an exciting sign. And then once we started to see the ballots come in, it was incredible.
And what was voter turnout like? Because I'm wondering if more people were showing up in contrast to other years for these sort of off-year elections.
Turnout was around 21%, which will not sound like a lot, because it was over 70% in the presidential election, but it's definitely significantly higher than it was 4 years ago, the last time we had these exact same elections for our local townships. It's a little higher than it was, definitely higher than it was 2 years ago as well. So turnout was fairly high compared to similar elections.
And so how many, I guess the question is, how many were you not successful in? Because I think you were successful in almost all of them, weren't you?
Well, we just got an update of mail ballots that got counted that arrived yesterday, today, and as of right now, we are going to win. So we ran Democrats. It's a little bit confusing because there are both partisan elections and nonpartisan elections. In the actual partisan elections, we ran a Democratic candidate in 49 races. We now we're going to win all 49 of them.
What?
It's 100% success rate. If your name is Democrat on the ballot, you won in DuPage County.
That is wild.
And that is a first. Definitely a first.
I have my very good friend Chris Jones, who is visiting us from Canada in town to perform at the Epiphany Performing Arts Center. I hope it's encouraging to hear. And DuPage, it used to be a fairly red area.
Well, when I lived here, I was just thinking DuPage County was this great Republican stronghold. So this is fantastic. What happened?
Yeah, tell us what happened. Tell us a little bit about the strategy and what you feel was successful. Wildly successful.
Overall, 8 years ago, it was one of the most Republican counties in the country. I think Donald Trump was the gift that kept on giving in some ways in terms of turning a lot of sort of, middle-class, college-educated, suburban voters against the Republican Party as they become more and more extreme. So really the last place where a lot of Republicans were still in control out here was these local municipal and township offices. But we've done a much better job making sure we get the word out in these odd-year elections about who our candidates are. We did, over 400,000 text messages, had volunteers write over 80,000 postcards. Our township Democratic organizations have just grown by leaps and bounds and done a tremendous job making sure that all of the voters we want to contact get information about all of the candidates, walking their precincts, covering the precincts that don't have somebody assigned to them. And all of that came together and just allowed us to absolutely dominate. in a county that was historically just red. So DuPage County is officially blue.
Well, I'm really excited, and we had several. Let's start with Addison Township. I mean, and we had candidates on from a lot of these townships and a lot of these races, and some of the issues that they were coming in to talk about are things that are really just so necessary in the communities. In particular, what jumped out at me was talking about support services as we see the cuts coming at the federal level. Like they were talking about, like the food pantries, and how there's limited hours in certain areas, and what people are trying to. You can't necessarily, if you're working 2-3 jobs and taking care of kids, making it harder to support your family becomes burdensome. So I love that Bobby Hernandez, Maria Vesey, all the guests. These are all the guests that we had on our show. We had Titus Dare on the show, Debbie Sandstrom, just to name a few of the candidates there. So congratulations to all of them. I mean, just across the board. This is by the way, Chris. This is all the way from library boards, school boards, township boards. What are some of the bigger races? Were there that jump out at you as well, that were maybe a little bit closer than you'd thought, or you like, what surprised you in this race?
Well, I have to admit, what surprised me is winning 49 out of 49. But I thought we would do well. I didn't realize we would literally run the table. Some of the closest races were those in Addison. So Bobby Hernandez, who's going to do a tremendous job, just beat entrenched Dennis Rebeletti. His race was. He's up by like 267 votes right now, and that's going to grow. Titus Dare, who you mentioned as a trustee, was the only candidate as a Dem who was down as of election night. He's now up by 200 votes. I'd say like the nonpartisan races where candidates were willing to really lean into their democratic values were all unbelievably successful as well. There was a real separation between the candidates that were willing to run on their democratic values and just common sense and believing in public education and facts, whether it was for school or library board or city council, and then some of the more extremist candidates. And we just obliterated some of the Christian nationalist candidates running for the Helen Plum Library District in Lombard. All of the Naperville candidates who ran on democratic values were successful. Obviously, Richard Irvin is no more as the mayor of Aurora, which includes part of DuPage County. Elected a new fabulous mayor in Villa Park, Kevin Patrick, Lyle, Mary Jo Mullen, Rebecca Gianelli in Glendale Heights. I mean, we just so many nonpartisan candidates that we were looking to see victorious, one in municipal races and then in school board races. It was a complete wipeout of the far right in DuPage across the board.
Out freaking standing. I love it. And what are you are you communicating? I'm guessing there's got to be some sort of back and forth with a lot of the chairs around the state. I heard that was it out of like 280 we were successful across the state in over 220 races. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. So the Democratic Party of Illinois has done a really good job supporting races across the state this year, and I know that there was a lot of success in especially the other collar counties. I don't know if it was successful in some of the more rural areas where we're really kind of struggling to really, have the same success that we're having in some of the more suburban areas of the state.
That's amazing. I know that this has got to be so just such a great week to feel good about it, because Chris, I don't know if you're aware. I mean, and Reid, correct me if I'm wrong, but for the presidential race, I mean, there was a bit of a backslide for the Dems as far as like voting for blue, right? Was that? I mean, not whether it was showing up or more Republicans that were voting for Trump. Is that right, Reid?
Yeah, I mean, especially in Chicago and then in rural parts of the state, even in the collar counties, we lost some vote share relative to Biden versus Trump. We were several points off with Harris and her margin, but I think she won by still something like 13 points in DuPage. So, I mean, it really shows like DuPage has become a blue county, and these local elections, it was just turnout was the problem, that our voters weren't coming out and voting, and this time they did.
That's outstanding. Well, congratulations to you and all the volunteers and all the candidates and their families. Oh my God, families have got to. I mean, like to get across that finish line, it's a heavy lift for everybody, isn't it, Reid?
Yeah, and I mean it's a reminder too for all the families who are going to benefit, because townships really do play a role. They're, our local government is the front line of defense against some of the horrible harms that Donald Trump is doing by taking away grants to states and counties, and senior services, food pantries, some of the most important services are handled at the most local levels, and having democratic values reflected in those local offices is going to be really important.
What's this is one of the things I'm going to check in with some of the groups that I work with. We've been honored to have your candidates on, and we want to continue the relationship and check in with you and like update folks on what is getting accomplished. Promises kept kind of a thing too. So how long do you guys relax, and then what is it like? What is it like gearing up next? I mean, because it's not until 2026 is the next big thing, or what do you have in between?
Yeah, the next big elections are the midterms in 2026. I mean, the seats that are up that we want to flip are the treasurer, and the most important one is the sheriff. We still have a Republican sheriff, although Mendrick is pretty much famous now, running for governor. But we want a Democratic sheriff in DuPage, and then it's about making sure that we reelect all of our incredible incumbents, from Chair Democrat Deb Conroy. We have a great majority on the county board. We need to preserve that. Our 5 Democratic members of Congress. So we're gearing up for 2026, starting immediately in terms of making sure we have great candidates and then work to support our incumbents.
And remind folks, if they want to get involved, if there are races that might have vacancies, now's the time to start thinking about 2026. Don't wait until it's a few months out from or right before petitions and things like that. How can they get involved if they live in DuPage and would like to volunteer, think about running, all those things?
Well, if anybody's interested in running, I would love to have a conversation with you. We need more volunteers. People don't realize that we're a county of almost 1 million people, but we are almost 100% volunteers. We have one part-time contractor for the entire county of almost 1 million people in the Democratic Party, so we're a volunteer organization. The best way is to get plugged into our Democratic Township organizations and get on our newsletter for the county, and that's all something you can do at DuPageDemocrats.com. You can sign up for our newsletter and find links for the township organizations, which have monthly meetings, which are really the lifeblood of keeping people engaged and focused on what needs to happen. So DuPageDemocrats.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the Dems. A listener says, congrats to DuPage County candidates, volunteers on a big win. Let's also give Governor Pritzker some credit. Yes, we've been talking about how that he's been more invested than our previous, perhaps, Democratic leaders in Illinois with other races outside of, the big ones. So thank you to all of you, Reid. Always great to catch up with you, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Yeah, and thanks so much, Patty, for all you do to spotlight our candidates and what we're doing out here in the burbs.
Absolutely. Thanks. I look forward to talking to you again and seeing you sometime. Let's sip one back. Cheers, my friend.
Yeah, sounds good.
Excellent. Bye. Take care. Congratulations. That's so exciting. Really great work. Isn't
Impressive
that
win. Wow.
Isn't that all of them?
49 out of 49. It's hard to argue with that.
No, I know, right? It's good stuff. I like it. Let's talk to Chris Jones some more when we come back on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KKNW 1150 in Seattle, Washington.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
At the very end of last year, the U.S. Dietary Advisory Committee released guidance aimed at informing the next update for federal nutrition advice. And the headline, as my colleague Sandy Lamott put it, a lowly vegetable rises to stardom. She was writing about beans and their legume cousins, peas and lentils. Now why? The committee found that when one animal source of saturated fat was swapped for another animal source with less saturated fat, such as lean meat, there was actually little benefit to health. That's because meat doesn't have fiber. Beans and legumes do. All the members of the legume family are full of nutrients, including copper, iron, magnesium, potassium, folic acid, zinc, and the essential amino acid lysine. There's also lots of protein and fiber. Shop for a variety of these superfoods. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 8-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting offer, then head to abcmouse.com/radio to learn more. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
We're offering a promo at abcmouse.com/radio to try it for free for a month, then $14.99 per month until canceled. Go to abcmouse.com/radio to see this offer. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Actual ABC Mouse users compensated for their test.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
You say forget your plans, 'cause the end is coming soon. It's all going down on the 21st of June. And if I can't see signs, it's because I've closed my mind. You might as well be talking to the moon. I'm not saying that you can't be right. I've got just one question if I might. What if you're wrong? Will you admit it?
Oh my God, I love that so much, Chris Jones.
Deeper in it. Even further down in the rabbit hole.
Hey, this is great, Chris. Can we talk over your music? You don't want to talk over your music?
I prefer it that way.
Oh my God! They're never gonna. No, they don't. People don't admit it.
Yeah.
It makes. I mean, we can't wait for accountability and justice. And,
yeah, it's John Weisberger was a former band member of mine. We got together and wrote this. I just wanted to ask that question. What if you're wrong? What do you do then?
Right.
And when it's
Right. Well, here's the thing for me, right? I am, and I know I come across as snarky, whether it's on the radio. I'm fully aware of my snark levels. I think you saw some of my videos when people get really nasty, and I would dedicate 25 doors to them and use their name on a porch and say, hey, my friend Peter says that he really supports women's autonomy and, strongly encourages, so I'm a little petty. I'm petty Patty. Here's the thing, though. I am, when I say to people, like today, someone posted on my wall on my Facebook page that this country, made all of our coffers were filled by money from tariffs before, during World War I or whatever, and the income tax, and then now we're trapped in this, and everybody else is making money off us, and they're repeating what the president says, right? So I just posted, okay, well, please educate me, share some sources that I can read more, and of course, silence. Here's the thing: I, as folks know, I am more than happy to say when I'm wrong, that I was misinformed, and that to me is one of the hallmarks of being a liberal, is to base your opinion on new information. I don't know how hard that is.
No, absolutely, and it's so hard right now, because especially when the guy at the top really doesn't care whether the thing is right or not. Actually, if it's wrong, it's better.
Yeah.
And or just whatever sounds better at the time. Then if you repeat that or use that as a source,
It is some wild stuff. Chris Jones and the Night Drivers will be appearing tomorrow at the Epiphany Performing Center for the Arts. That show is at 7:30, and you can get tickets at epiphanychai.com. That's epiphanychai.com. Again, the show is at 7:30. I highly recommend this show. They are amazing, as you just heard some of the music, and you have performers that kind of weave in and out of, depending on their availability and whether they can get to the location you are, or
no, we have a regular band and that have been together in the current lineup now for one musician has been playing with me for close to 20 years.
Oh my
another one
gosh.
for 5 years, and then we have a relatively new bass player who's been with us a year and a half or so. So we'll all be here, the regular lineup: Nelson Williams, Grace Fantoff, and Mark Stoffel. We have a Carbondale guy on mandolin, by the way, so we have an Illinois connection there. But we will do that song. That is the only song I've ever written that mentions chemtrails. So that's I feel like that's new ground.
yeah. But Cor, if I get now, you don't start with the chemtrails and think. No, you thought of the what if you're wrong? Will you? Yeah. Well, and it's not just will you admit it, and I guess the other thing for us is will we accept someone saying that they were? You know what I mean? Like, do we demand it? Do we need it? I know a lot of people are extremely salty, and how could you not be when they voted to basically harm people and harm the people in our communities that we love? Do you have family still in the States?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my family's somewhat small and scattered, but I have family in New Mexico and still in the state of Washington. I've got a couple of wonderful nieces in the Seattle area.
Okay.
And
we'll tell them to tune in on KKNW 11:50 a.m.
I will do that. They would love that.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm on late at night, though, just so you know there. That's this broadcast's later there. Yeah. So how are they doing? How are they reacting to it? Are you in contact with them about the state of things?
I think
the disarray of things?
Everybody, and I'm sure you know this from all the people that you encounter, everybody's having a hard time, and everyone is having I think it's like being in a state of mourning or shock. You lose a friend or a family member, and some days you're handling it okay, and other days you aren't. And people process it differently at different times. So it's kind of, we have to help each other in small ways, because it's like a grief process.
It is for us. There's some shock. I think that things had started with such an accelerated rate of crazy, and the pace I can't even say that it's gotten worse. It's just it's been sustained. It's like going for a sip of water and someone opening a fire hose. For me, I try to pick and choose what I react to. On the other hand, I also work during the day for the state of Illinois, so I'm monitoring like how our departments for like Health and Human Services, the Department of Education, a lot of families whose kids have disabilities or live in rural areas and don't have access to the schooling that is going to be to the level at which federal, not just the programs, the supports, the regulations, but, the funding, if you think of some of the schools, like that's up to 40% of their funding comes from the Department of Education. So this is incredibly destabilizing. It's terrifying for a lot of folks. I had a friend, and they're not in the listening area, and I don't know that my friend is listening in New Orleans, but I said it was terrifying when we saw this student get just, basically kidnapped at Tufts University in Massachusetts, surrounded by people in masks. And I said it was terrifying. And they texted me later and they were like, if that's what they want you to be terrified. I'm like, but being brave is also doing the things that you have to do in the face of terror. And as the mother of a child with severe disabilities, knowing what the history is of the last time fascism terrorized the world, I know that my child is seen as someone who's disposable, and that our family is a burden. I get to be terrified.
Absolutely.
I also get to be angry. I get to be petty. I get to be all the things.
Of course. And I think there are two sides to all of this. There's the symbolic stuff that troubles us. And I remember one of the first things that to me seemed like such a worrying sign, even if it's insignificant in the bigger sense, was just the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico.
Wasn't that bonkers?
Yeah, or the taking over the Kennedy Center. These are like little petty dictator things that really, if you think about it, they're quite troubling. And yet, at the same time, it's the nuts and bolts things. It's people that are going to lose their livelihoods, or people who can't be fed, and just the real tragic results, the nuts and bolts. And that's really the part that we have to concern ourselves with most. But the other stuff does, it's difficult.
How are Canadians? One of the things I saw were Canadians before this round of tariffs a couple months ago were taking like all of the products, American products, off the shelves, whether it was alcohol. I don't know what else were some of the things that people were stripping the stores of on the shelves.
Well, alcohol was a big one, I think, because, and I think Canada was trying to concentrate on things that there was an easy alternative to. Yeah, you can avoid this, and there is some symbolism there, and some of the Canadian provincial governments were actually seriously targeting red states and red state businesses. Now, I had to point out to one Canadian that this is a little unfair in the instance of Kentucky. We've been talking about bourbon because Kentucky is Democratic governor, and a particularly good one, I think. But that was how they were thinking. They wanted to punish red states. They also wanted to do this with products that weren't going to cause big hardship, where you can say, okay, I'll get a different kind of whiskey, or I'll try a different wine.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's our friends to the north. Canada is a mighty country that has been our ally, our friend, a good neighbor. And the idea of this fentanyl crap, I like the percentage of fentanyl that comes from Canada is like minuscule in comparison to the Americans and Mexicans that are trading that. What were we going to say, Chris?
Yeah, well, more is coming the other direction. There's more fentanyl coming into Canada.
From us. Yeah. I'm just saying. Chris Jones joined me in the studio. He'll be at the Epiphany Center for the Performing Arts Center tomorrow night at 7:30. Go to epiphanychai.com. Let's take a quick break here and come back. We're going to have Sarah Garza Resnick, CEO of Personal Impact, joining us in the next hour. More in a moment. Sorry, I'm a little bit late, Lady B.
Attention all listeners, financial planners, CPAs, and divorce attorneys. If you're wondering why your loan officer hasn't returned your calls, it's probably because they're one of the over 165,000 loan officers who didn't renew their license over the past 24 months. If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender who's still in business. While mortgage companies have been shutting down and loan officers are leaving the business over the past 2 years, Team Hochberg has been adding loan officers, is stronger than ever, and would love to earn your business. Let's review. Hundreds of mortgage companies have closed and over 165,000 loan officers exited the mortgage business, while Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever. If you'd like to work with experienced mortgage professionals who will appreciate your business, call Team Hochberg now, 855-563-2843, or visit 56david.com, 855-563-2843, or 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, MLS 112-4061.
Steel, walk behind, zero turn, and stand-on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. President Trump's expressing confidence, but Sagar Meghani reports his newest tariffs have shocked global financial markets to a level not seen since the COVID outbreak.
The Dow was down more than 1,600 points. The S&P 500 down 4.8%. The Nasdaq down 6%. The market's worst day since 2020, amid fears of a potentially toxic mix of slower economic growth and higher inflation resulting from tariffs.
I think it's going very well.
Before the markets closed, President Trump shrugged off the losses.
The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom.
But to former International Monetary Fund chief economist Maurice Obstfeld, the question is why the markets plunged.
Is this the end of the reaction, or is this only a first leg down?
It's too soon to know.
All the major financial houses have raised their odds of recession.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
President Trump says he's fired some White House National Security Council officials. Comes a day after activist Laura Loomer raised concerns directly to him about staff loyalty. A federal judge says she'll temporarily block billions in health funding cuts to states. And Lisa Dwyer reports deadly storms have been battering the nation's midsection.
Tornadoes and violent winds flattened homes and ripped apart buildings from Oklahoma to Indiana in the first round of storms expected to bring record rains and life-threatening flash floods in the coming days.
The same general areas are going to be getting hit kind of through Saturday.
National Weather Service meteorologist Mark Chenard.
Finally, by Sunday, it looks like the storm finally starts to move east.
Potentially deadly flash flooding is forecast for the South and Midwest as severe thunderstorms blowing eastward become supercharged, with more than a foot of rain possible in some areas over the next 4 days. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
This is AP News. In Lithuania, a big turnout to honor U.S. soldiers who died in a peat bog. Nairn Kim has our report.
Mourners stood in silence as hearses carrying their bodies drove past. The soldiers, part of the 1st Armoured Brigade Combat Team, 3rd Infantry Division, were on a tactical training exercise when they and their vehicle went missing a week ago. School principal Justin Boyd came with his students to show his respects.
It's important for us to give dignity to the fallen and to let the families know that we are with them and we support them in this time.
The families of Troy Knutson Collins, Jose Duenes Jr., Edvin Franco, and Dante Titano now wait for their bodies to return to the United States for burial. I'm Nayan Kim.
And I'm Ben Thomas, AP News. Thank you for listening.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Cloudy tonight, a low of 42 degrees. Rain likely Friday with a high temperature of 48. Saturday, showers again, high temperatures in the upper 40s. Sunny on Sunday with a high of 47. On Monday, we'll see partly sunny skies with a high near 40. Tuesday, sunny and a high temperature of 44. Wednesday, sunshine with a high temperature of 56. Thursday, partly cloudy, highs in the 50s. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 48.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 8-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting offer, then head to abcmouse.com/radio to learn more. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
We're offering a promo at abcmouse.com/radio to try it for free for a month, then $14.99 per month until canceled. Go to abcmouse.com/radio to see this offer. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Actual ABC Mouse users compensate for their testimonials, sponsored by Age of Learning.
When I first had my baby, I'd get comments all the time about how happy I must be. I remember thinking, I want to be happy. Why don't I feel that way? It was hard to admit that, even to my doctor. But I'm glad I did. She told me it was postpartum depression, and that is very treatable. These days, things are feeling good, and we're both happier about that. Right, little man? I'll take that as a yes.
Mental health care is working for Simone. See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we drive it home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal in Chicago, where we love our new friends listening on 1150 AM, KKNW, Seattle, Washington. Alternative Talk, so proud to be a part of your family. And our friends on KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And I want to thank folks who have sent me some really kind messages in the last 24 hours since I updated folks on my son Declan. For those of you who are not familiar, my son Declan was born medically fragile. He was not able to breathe and was on life support for several days and then on oxygen for 28 days. And it's been a long journey. He's almost 20 years old this summer. And he had some complications a couple years ago, suddenly lost the ability to walk in addition to a lot of other challenges that we've had. And the technology has changed for genetic testing. And the specialist said, hey, why don't we run another round and see if there's anything we can discover, maybe have a path for his treatment. And they found out that my son has one of the rarest genetic disorders in the world. He becomes the 53rd patient in the world who has primrose, which is it's not something my husband and I carry. It's something else that I had been thinking about for the last 20 years. Did I do something wrong? Did I eat something bad? I got really sick during the pregnancy, and I thought something had crossed the placenta and had caused all these malformation of his brain. All these things that I thought that maybe you go through all the scenarios, and even did we have the right specialist? Did we do all the right treatments? Did we and so to have an answer, and I also want to be very mindful of people who don't have answers. This is such a different journey and such a complicated road for all of us. So I want to thank folks who have been so supportive, and I'll try to write more about it in the days and weeks to come, because it's just such a new. I feel like a whole new person to in the last 24 hours. And by the way, I call my son 53 now. His nickname is 50. Hey, 53. It's really wild. That's Chris Jones. Chris Jones and the Night Drivers will be performing at the Epiphany Performing Arts Center. tomorrow night. The show is at 7:30. You can go to epiphanychai.com to purchase tickets, and we'll hear some more music from Chris in just a little bit. And joining us right now in studio, we've talked for years. I've known the CEO of Personal Pack for over 15 years, Terry Crosgrove, who we've had the pleasure of having on the show. He is now the emeritus of Personal Pack, and we are so thrilled to welcome Sarah Garza Resnick, CEO of Personal Pack now. Sarah, welcome to the show. I know you've been on this show before, but it's thrilled to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It's a lot we've got going on in the world, Sarah.
Just a little bit.
So I go to Wisconsin to help out. We created a group called Fibs for Wisconsin, both over the last year and a half. And part of it's because when I was a Girl Scout at camp at East Troy, Wisconsin for 6 years, I had more rights and protections at 9 to 15 than I do at 52. What is happening? I mean, it's still overwhelming sometimes, isn't it?
It is overwhelming. I mean, I think about it all the time. I was just talking to a friend who was doing some work in Missouri on this issue, and I said, right across the border, we have different rights in this country, and that is insane to me. It is illogical, and I think that since Roe v. Wade was overturned by Donald Trump's hand-picked Supreme Court justices, the voters have said time and time again that this is illogical. We do not want this to be the state of our country.
It is. It's wild. And Chris, I mean, abortion it's not even a consideration. I mean, even in Mexico now, abortion is accessible.
And a female president.
I know. Go figure.
Back when the conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper was in power, and that he just said that's not something that Canadians want to revisit. It's not something. He personally was probably, if it was up to him, would probably have placed restrictions on it. But he said this is just not something that the country wants to get back into.
It has been singularly on the minds of ultra conservatives, the far right, since the 1970s at the least. I mean, with Phyllis Schlafly, with consolidating, the racists and the ultra religious, and deciding that you would basically, make a deal with the devil to get what you want. And here we are.
And here we are. Yet the majority of Americans, overwhelming majority of Americans, growing every single election cycle, want abortion to be safe, legal, and accessible with no government interference.
How is Personal Pack doing because in Illinois, it's an Illinois organization. I know that Project 50 was also kind of on the model of Personal Pack, right? To go to every state.
That is their goal.
Yeah, that is their goal. We're going to keep working with that. How are we doing in Illinois? I know we've passed some of the best, the gold standard really in many ways for protective rights for women and girls.
I mean, we built the house, right? Personal Pack has been at this for over 36 years. Every single election cycle, everyone running for office gets a very extensive questionnaire, and we make candidates sign that questionnaire if they want our endorsement. And that questionnaire basically spells out that abortion and all reproductive health will be safe, legal, and accessible with no government interference. We raise a lot of money. I spend a lot of my time doing that. And if you have our back, we have your back. We will make sure you get elected. We will give you all the tools. We will teach you how to speak about this issue. And when you decide to run again, we will also have your back. I also lobby at every level of government for the laws and expansion of rights for women and everyone who needs reproductive health care. And we've been really successful doing that. It took us a long time. People should know that. It was every election cycle doing a couple races at a time. But now we have created a space where Illinois is the linchpin in this country for abortion access. Not only for Illinoisans, but for the huge swaths of women who have no access in their states and will frankly die without access to it. So just put it into context, the 2024 numbers have not come out yet, but the 2023 numbers, over 37,000 people had to travel to Illinois for essential life-saving reproductive health care. Illinois, New York and California each took in about 5,000 to 6,000 people.
Okay.
So we are carrying, because of our place in geography, the overwhelming weight for this country.
It is. It's still astounding to me, when you see these stories. I don't know if you saw it, because there's so much news that's happening. Like, we're not catching some of these personal stories in other states. Like in Georgia, they basically got rid of their maternal well-being, like the maternal health board, because a woman had died when she was not allowed access to life-saving services and health care. They're basically hiding the bodies in Texas, in Georgia, and I'm glad that Alabama Supreme Court at least overturned this case where they wanted to prosecute people who were going to fundraise in order to go to other states, right? Like
it was basically an abortion funds. There were 2 in Alabama, right. And the Attorney General there said that they were going to be criminally prosecuted, not for providing health care in Alabama, but just for helping people who might call and be like, I need help. Can you help me?
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court said that is not criminal behavior that can be criminalized. It's protected by the First Amendment. And thankfully, that's what happened. And I heard a great story on the radio that one of the abortion funds, that ruling came down at 5 o'clock, and at 5:45 they were able to help fund somebody to get out of state to get care.
Oh, that's outstanding. It is. It's heartbreaking, and there are more women who are trying to get those stories out there, Chris. Like they're taking videos of themselves, like in an emergency room, waiting rooms, saying that they won't care for me. They're sending me back home. This was not necessarily just after Roe v. Wade. There were women who were being prosecuted for having stillborns because they had taken drugs, or they had miscarried at home and they didn't properly, and Pence was going for this in Indiana, trying to prosecute and criminalize women whose bodies just couldn't carry a pregnancy to term.
Yeah, I mean, miscarriages are very common.
Yes.
I had them when I was trying to get pregnant, and you don't even know that's what's really happening. All of a sudden, you didn't get a period, and then you are bleeding, and you don't know why. We don't deserve to be criminally prosecuted for that whatsoever, and that is happening in blue states and in red states. Pregnancy criminalization is something that people really have to pay attention to.
I had a question about election results, and since, as you point out, the majority of Americans by a long shot favor abortion rights, and yet it seemed that voters would go ahead and vote for a referendum supporting that, but then turned around in enough numbers to make a difference and voted for Republicans at all levels and voted for Donald Trump. Does that make any sense, or what do you think about that?
Yeah.
It does make sense, because I think that people thought, for ballot referendums, we really have to pause and think about what they're really about. So they are creating a legal right. There is a very big difference between a legal right and equitable access to that right. And so for a long time in this country, we have fought for our legal rights when it comes to women's health care, but we have done less fighting about whether people can actually have access to that right. And here in Illinois, it's what Personal PAC does. We don't only make sure people have a legal right to abortion, we make sure that we're passing laws. And what I love about my job is I talk to all of the providers, both at hospital-based care, independent providers, the Planned Parenthoods, and the abortion funds, and I say, what are the problems you're having? What do you hear from people? How can we make these laws work better for people? I spent 13 years in government. I believe deeply in efficient, good government is really the linchpin to making people connected to our democracy. And I bring that ethos to Personal PAC. So when I am lobbying for a law or advocating for somebody to be elected, it's because I believe that they're going to hear the voices of all the stories I gather, and then we create the laws based on what is actually needed on the ground to make sure that everybody, no matter their income level, no matter whether they have private health insurance, no matter whether they can afford to pay for it out of pocket, has access to the rights. So I think these ballot referendums really confused people. I think that they said, oh, I'm going to vote. I want abortion to be fine. And I fell for the song and the smoke and mirrors that Donald Trump was giving people. I'm going to leave it alone. I think this should be left up to the states. I love women. I'm going to be a protector of women. I mean, all BS. Yeah. But I think people fell for it because they wanted to do the right thing and they thought they were doing the right thing.
And I talked to a woman in New Orleans who was from Wisconsin, and she said that she had voted for Trump. She was, and I said, well, I go door knocking in Wisconsin, and a lot of women are worried about their abortion rights. She's like, yeah, I agree with that, but there shouldn't be men in girls' bathrooms. I mean, so they get distracted by those things too. They fall for those, the shiny object of like being bombarded with that over and over again. We need to take a break. We're going to continue our conversation. We're in studio with guest co-host Chris Jones, and Chris Jones and the Night Drivers will be performing tomorrow night at the Epiphany Performing Arts Center? I
think Epiphany Center for the Arts.
I've heard it both ways.
Okay.
Just kidding. It's Epiphany. EpiphanyChai.com. That's EpiphanyCHI.com. The show is at 7:30. You can purchase tickets right there on their website. Look for Chris Jones and the Night Drivers. And we also have in studio with us Sarah Garza Resnick, who is the CEO of Personal Pack. Visit the website personalpack.org and support their mission to make sure that we have access, that we all have access to the full range of healthcare, and that means everybody. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 AM Seattle, Washington, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. All the folks, all the people.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. Call now. 800-575-8924. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Today, 1 in 5 working-age Americans has a mental health condition.
People in all types of jobs and at all levels.
And the key to helping us succeed is a supportive and inclusive workplace.
All of us have a role to play in making that happen.
So what can I do to help?
As a CEO, I can set the tone for supportive culture.
As a manager, I can offer assistance and accommodations.
As a coworker, I can listen and be a source of support to my colleagues.
As someone with a mental health condition, I can ask for what I need to perform my best.
I can offer all employees the supports they need to deliver on the job. For the team
and for the business.
What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I do?
I can remind others
that we all benefit from workplaces that promote good mental health.
Mental health-friendly workplaces are more important than ever.
And all of us have a role to play in promoting them.
Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our conversation with guest co-host Chris Jones. Chris Jones and the Night Drivers will be performing tomorrow night at the Epiphany Performing Arts Center, or Center for Performing Arts.
If I'm wrong, I'll admit it.
Yeah, I will simmer in my wrongness if I'm incorrect on that. Go to epiphanychai.com for ticket information, and again, or you can Google Chris Jones and the Night Drivers and listen to some of their great music, including some of the songs that we heard earlier, including "What If You're Wrong," which I freaking love. Sarah, did you hear? I don't know if you had a chance to hear that. Sarah Garza Resnick joins us in studio as well. She's the CEO of Personal Pack. Did you say it was over 37 years Personal Pack has been fighting this fight?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, it's great. It's amazing to me how far Illinois has come. I think about so when I was in college, I went to the University of Illinois, and I had back pain, and I went to the doctor, and he said, "It sounds to me like you're pregnant," and then left me alone for 40 minutes. And I went through every variation of the choices I had to make, and I seriously believe it was kind of a punishment to because the question is, are you sexually active? Yeah, and that was 1992 or something like that. And we've come a long way as far as women knowing what their options are. What's next for Illinois? What's next for Personal Pack?
I mean, we just came off really good wins on the April 1st elections on
Isn't that
Tuesday.
amazing? Oh my God.
I mean, obviously Wisconsin was huge,
Yep.
and Judge Crawford winning. But here in Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
Personal PAC, the new area we're getting into is that we are making endorsements in local races. So we endorsed 49 candidates from library board up to mayors and suburban all over Illinois. And we won 43 of those races.
Excellent. Congratulations.
And every single place that we made paid communication commitments, we won.
Yeah.
I got text messages and phone calls from normal voters who found my phone number and was like, I didn't know there was an election. Thank you so much for telling me. And we're having pro-choice voters talk to pro-choice voters via postcards about what is at stake at every election. So we're going to take that momentum. I work every day with the partners across Illinois to make sure that whatever 47 and Musk are going to throw at us, we are prepared. Our Attorney General, Kwame Raoul, will be in the courts. Our Governor, J.B. Pritzker, will defend every right we have here. We are ready for the fight if they bring it to us. And we're going to keep educating people about why this matters.
Are we hearing any rumblings? Because that seems to be one issue. You know, it's still forefront. Like when we were in Wisconsin and we remind them that the ban goes all the way back to 1849. There are places where it's incredibly barbaric. Idaho has some of the worst laws controlling women's bodies. And while we have made so much ground, we also elected a couple of years ago another Supreme Court justice. And when I was working on that race, I met a young woman from Park Ridge. She was only like 17 years old. And she was out there because she got it. She knew that she needed to fight for her own future. Are you getting a lot of young people that are like fired up, in particular in this last elections on Tuesday?
I mean, absolutely. Young people know what is at stake here. And I think, I know that the ethos is that young men are all becoming MAGA and Joe Rogan people. I don't see that everywhere. I think that young men are learning how to be better allies. And I think that really why that is changing is it takes the bravery of women and people who identify as women to talk about what it's like to be a woman in this country. I don't think most people are bad people. I think that the patriarchy has led us to silence our voices and to be ashamed of our bodies. And everywhere I go, I tell young people, talk about how hard it is to get birth control. Talk about how hard it is when you get older about birthing or not birthing or getting access to abortion if that's what you need. I'm perimenopausal. I talk about it everywhere because people have no idea how hard it is to navigate and to find the proper care, because guess what? The medical research has not gone to study women's bodies.
Yep.
And my own gynecologist, who's a friend of mine, was like, I barely learned about this in medical school, Sarah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I often talk about so the exam for our pap smear has been around since the 1920s, pretty much exactly the same way. I mean, and a lot has happened. I don't get it. I don't know how. I mean, if I have to be in the stirrups again, I'm wearing a pair of Spurs. And when that doctor tells me to scooch, it's going to get ugly. That's all I'm saying. But it is, it's unconscionable that we are still in this position and yet not even in this position because we're being dragged back. When it comes to what's happening federally, I think that people are worried, but there's so much happening, so many other things happening. Is that sort of watering down any of your fight? You know what I mean? Like they're worried about Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, veterans are worried. I mean, there's a lot going on in so many different places.
Yeah. I think people are not forgetting about abortion.
Good.
I know that elected officials might think, or the politicos are going to be like, oh, that was 2 cycles and now it's over. It's not. This is about the fundamental right, whether we have the ability to choose our own destinies. And over 50% of the population of this country are women. And every single month we get a reminder of whether we're pregnant or not for many, many decades. I know people might think that we're going to go back into the shadows and be quiet. We are not. And I think people, everywhere I go, I tell people that we are very strong here in Illinois and we should be so proud of the work and we have to keep it up. But even our rights here can be taken away by them.
Yeah.
And the FDA, the new head of the FDA, Marty McRae, or however you pronounce his name, he is frightening. Mifepristone is one of the pills used in medication abortion. Medication abortion is 2/3 of abortions that happen in this country are done via medication abortion. mifepristone has been approved by the FDA since 2000.
Right.
So 25 years. It is safer than Tylenol.
Mm-hmm.
And in his confirmation hearings, he could not promise that he was going to leave that the law of the land. We should be very, very worried.
Absolutely. And folks should definitely reach out. Go to, it's personalpack.org. It's PAC, personalpack.org, and make sure that you support the work that they're doing. I mean, when I was in Walworth County, that's where I do a lot of work in Kenosha, Racine, and Walworth was where I learned from some of the women, because a lot of these volunteers, they've been at this for decades. And I didn't even know, even as a history major, we were talking to students from UW Whitewater, and one of the women told us that she couldn't get birth control until she got married and had to have written permission from her husband. And this is somebody, this is, she got married in 1968. We forget how we're right here. It's just astounding to me. What can folks do to get involved?
Go to our website. We have lots of events. I have healthcare providers for choice. So anyone in healthcare or even tangentially related to healthcare, we're going to be having a great event on April 24th, June 24th. I don't know why they're all, which is the anniversary of the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe. Wow. We have our Next Gen event, which is like for young people. It's fun. It's punky. It's like to get young people involved. And then just sign up on our website. Stay informed. We don't spam lots of emails, but I only send out this is a thing you really, really have to pay attention to. And then really excitingly, this Saturday on April 5th, there are going to be rallies, anti-47, anti-Musk rallies all over this country. We have planned a huge one for Daly Plaza, downtown Chicago at noon. I know you have a lot of listeners from all over the country. If you go visit handsoff2025.com, you will find small towns, big cities. Get out there, hit the streets this Saturday. Trump has had a terrible 2 weeks. And we need to keep making sure that he has a terrible 2 weeks. And we have to keep making sure that we hit the streets so that people know when they go on their social media, when they turn on the news, when they go and look at their newspapers, that this is not normal.
No.
What is happening, and it is up to the people to take this back.
Outstanding. Great work to you. Again, Sarah Garza Resnick, everybody at Personal Pack, of course, our friend Terry Cosgrove, who relentlessly and just in levels that are hard to describe. This was his passion. He was living, breathing everything for Personal Pack, and obviously in tremendous hands in the work that you're doing to continue to make sure that women and girls have access, and that families have access to the full range of healthcare. Thank you so much. Again, it's personalpack.org. The rally at Daly Plaza at noon. Handsoff.org. You said was also the other website, Handsoff?
Handsoff2025.com to find rallies all over the country. Get your friends, get your mom, get your kids, hit the streets and tell this country we are taking it back.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate it. Let's take a quick break here and come back in just a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. And hello to our friends in Seattle and Minneapolis, St. Paul. Oops.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Cloudy tonight, a low of 42 degrees. Rain likely Friday with a high temperature of 48. Saturday, showers again, high temperatures in the upper 40s. Sunny on Sunday with a high of 47. On Monday, we'll see partly sunny skies with a high near 40. Tuesday, sunny and a high temperature of 44. Wednesday, sunshine with a high temperature of 56. Thursday, partly cloudy, highs in the 50s. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 48.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Chris Jones joins me in studio. Chris Jones and the Night Drivers will be performing tomorrow at the Epiphany Center for the Arts at 201 South Ashland Avenue. You can call 312-421-4600 for more information or visit epiphanychai.com. It's a beautiful space. You can get there early, and listen to the rest of my show on the Blue Cheek if you get there before 7 o'clock. And they have art, a gallery. They've got a lot of different spaces. You can have a cocktail. It's really a beautiful venue. Chris, I don't know if the last time you were here, you met one of our listeners who has been patiently waiting on hold for over an hour. Jim from Chicago. Hey, Jim, you're on with me and Chris Jones. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hi, Chris. Go Canada.
Thanks.
I was going to put myself in the position of the guy that was going to give his kidney to his brother, and I picked him up. But think of that conversation. Let's say it was me. I would say, are you taking me out of state because I've got this emergency on my hands? I want to give my brother the kidney to save his life. And what was the discussion there? Obviously, ICE was using their head because they had to retrieve him from wherever he was at to bring him in for this operation.
Right.
But just think about how inhumane that is to. You're explaining this. I'm sure he's explaining this to the ICE people that I've got a kid. I'm giving my brother a kidney. His life depends on it. Can't you wait and to take me after I left the hospital? After I recuperated from the operation? I mean, come on. It's just the cruelty. The cruelty of this outfit is just beyond belief. Anyway, Patty, thanks for taking my call. Thank you, Chris. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you for waiting on hold. Well, hey, Chris, when you came into the country, was it different than other times that you've been visiting us?
Yes, I have noticed a difference. And I remember years ago, first time I think I came on your show, and it was in the first Trump term, and you asked if things were different. And I hadn't really noticed anything back then. I have now.
Yeah.
And just another way in which this is different. I just noticed a very long line of customs that was unusual, and not that many travelers because there aren't as many people going to the U.S. from Canada. Large numbers of people have canceled trips. And I'm one of these frequent traveler programs, and generally I get almost no questioning at all. And for the first time, it got a little bit. It wasn't anything.
Chris, by the way, tall, skinny white dude. Just saying.
Yeah, look out.
Look out. Or the guitar? Was it the guitar that was questionable?
I think so.
Okay.
And just my general look. I would question me too.
Yeah, sure.
But I just noticed the slowness, which meant a lot more questioning going on, and so I think we're in for more of that.
Well, and there was a bill introduced. I can't remember who did it, and I'm guessing it was in Congress to privatize TSA is the next step. Well, they privatize everything. That's the ultimate goal in a lot of these instances. So, my apologies.
Let's get the people who run prisons to run that.
I mean,
sure.
Well, yeah, we've already privatized those. Is there anything else that seems? I mean, like there's the news that you guys watch in Canada and you pick up things. Is there anything else that strikes you? Do we all seem really tired in the United States because we're exhausted?
Tired. What happened initially in the Canadian right, because they were so focused on trashing Trudeau, no matter what, everything was his fault, inflation, everything on down. But when this was happening, it was very clear that there was an actual threat from the South. They were wanting to annex Canada or started to talk about the border, make it the 51st state. The only way you can avoid tariffs is to become the 51st state. This, as I was saying earlier on the show, it was a shock to people. And so, but the right not knowing what to do with it, because a number of them were sympathetic to Trump, people were still saying, I just wish, before this talk had happened, they were saying, I kind of am envious of Trump. I wish we had a Trump here. And then when that started to seem like not such a great position to take, they said, don't get distracted here. Trump and these tariffs is just trying to get Canada to get its act together and deal with fentanyl. So there are these attitudes up there, yeah. And
so the authoritarian sort of ideal of Trump, like we need to be punished in order to do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. Or somebody, yeah, and so there are extreme viewpoints up there too. But I think the vast majority of people, even people that would identify with the conservative movement or voted conservative, are extremely troubled, and they're not really sure what to do about it at this point. But there are people who are personally boycotting U.S. goods. There are people who are canceling trips. So I have to say, though, once I got to the U.S. and I was at the Newark airport, I was in New York this past week, every conversation I had was people apologizing to me. Said, you're apologizing so much. This is seeming Canadian. They would say, I came in from Canada. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. And I said, we tried to warn people. I can't believe it. Why are we picking on Canada? I heard this over and over. So it's nice to hear.
I am also sorry. I mean, I did the best I could. There's only so many doors I could knock on in Wisconsin.
You did wonderful work, and I know this.
So much I could do. My son's, one of his best friends is studying abroad in Germany. Can you imagine being an exchange student right now or studying abroad? He says he's never been so embarrassed. He's in Germany, and he's just, I don't even know. We were planning to go to Scotland. I know that you had traveled through Scotland, had some great video on social media of your adventures. And my husband and I are celebrating this summer our 25th wedding anniversary, and I hope to take the family to Scotland. I don't know if I should leave the country. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is a real concern for legal permanent residents and people who have green cards. That I'm staying with a good friend of mine who has that status, and he's afraid to go back to his home country for fear of not being able to get back here.
Yeah, well, have they been contacted at all by Homeland Security? Have they gotten any sort of alerts?
No, he has not heard anything.
Because a friend of mine has she was contacted by somebody who is here on a green card, and they were contacted by Homeland Security that they wanted access to their social media. So that kind of stuff that's happening. That kind of stuff is very terrifying.
I'm hearing stories, and I would repeat that there are only stories at this point of Canadians going across and having people look at their social media, and people look at their phones,
okay.
and people asking how they like the president, and
Ew.
and someone being turned away for giving the wrong answer. Like I say, at this point, I don't know.
The story's right
yeah.
there, anecdotal, then not. Let me get to Paul from Seattle. Paul, you're on with me and Chris Jones. Chris Jones and the Night Drivers at the Epiphany Center for the Arts tomorrow night. That's April 4th. Go to epiphanychai.com. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Yeah. I just posted on Facebook a couple of days ago a letter, written an open letter to, it's called From an American Yankee Patriot to My Canadian Brothers and Sisters, and it's kind of a open letter in verse. I think 6 couplets or 8 couplets in rhyme, telling Canadians to don't trust Trump, close your borders to us, and throw all of Americans out because he will be after you. Don't trust him, and well, I'm not saying don't trust him. I just don't think you can throw him very far. That's all I'm saying. Is that but I wanted to say about in the Supreme Court today, this week is a case of Planned Parenthood versus South Carolina. I don't know if that's the name of the case, but where South Carolina is trying to argue that, or Planned Parenthood is defending that South Carolina is trying to say that women, that they have the power to dissuade women from going to Planned Parenthood for abortion. And this is more this sleight of hand that the right wing does. Because the first thing is, Planned Parenthood is not a line item in the federal budget. Planned Parenthood is just another of about 4,000 approved Medicaid providers. But none of those 4,000 providers can take Medicaid money to use for abortions, which most of them do abortions, but they don't use Medicaid money. Planned Parenthood gets the money for abortions from donations. What they do is they submit reimbursement forms for any, women's health, any health things that they do for women or for men for that matter.
Right.
They submit it as, you come in for whatever, any kind of an exam. It's just a reimbursement, but they can't get a reimbursement for abortions. But South Carolina is trying to say that since they get 20% of their funds from the state, that South Carolina can tell women, no, you can't go there for abortions, even though the state of no Medicaid funds, either federal or state, go to abortion. And this is, and the justices, of course, I think they're probably going to buy this argument. So in other words, they can pick on Planned Parenthood and say, if you can go to Planned Parenthood for any other exam, pelvic exam or whatever, that the South Carolina does reimburse for, why can't you go to terminate a pregnancy, which they don't pay for? I don't know, but Brett Kavanaugh will come up with something.
Sure.
I'm sure. It's more sleight of hand and just complete BS. And I think the point about Mr. Pristone is definitely serious because as Trump is the president, he is also the head of the FDA, answers to him, and he can just say that in our opinion, mifepristone is a dangerous drug, and I think this court would probably say, oh yeah, well it's kind of like the old Chevron rule, is that we're going to defer to the they'll have it their way when they want to say that, and Trump could just say, tell the FDA, head of the FDA to declare it a dangerous drug, and I think that's why a lot of states like Washington are stockpiling mifepristone.
I actually, the kids at some college campuses, because they can get it through their health clinics, are stockpiling it too, and including boys, so that they can provide it to friends or anybody who needs it over the next several years in the event that it becomes inaccessible.
Well, I think we're on that way. At least I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh no! Everything's going to get worse before it gets better. Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
I know. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Let's take a quick break here and continue as we wrap up with our good friend Chris Jones. Chris Jones and the Night Drivers will be at the Epiphany Center for the Arts tomorrow night, 7:30 show. The doors to the venue, that particular room, open at 7, but the golden hour, the doors open at 5 p.m. It's such a beautiful space. It's great music. Come and gather and enjoy yourselves for a wonderful evening. Go to epiphanychai.com. That's epiphanychai.com. More in a moment on WCPT, 8:20 a.m., KKNW 1150 a.m., and KTNF AM 950. I love you all.
Amy Goodman reports on the news stories rarely covered by the corporate media. Democracy Now!
The UN's Humanitarian Affairs Office warned Palestinian children are at high risk of injury or death from unexploded ordnance left after more than 13 months of Israeli attacks. 8-year-old Mohammed Karmash, this is his mother.
No one was there to tell him that these are explosives that the Israelis throw.
Democracy Now! Weekday evenings at 10 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Are you looking for more in this world? Are you ready for something bigger? Then we are looking for you. The big-hearted, the bold, the messy and the gutsy. The teachers, the growers, the builders. The skilled, the sharers, the change makers. We need you. We are the Peace Corps. In more than 60 countries, we go all in and all out. We are volunteers, partners, communities, working together, living together, bringing our experience, passion, and joy to building a better world together. From tackling climate change in Mexico to keeping kids healthy in Kenya, from sustainable farming in the Philippines to education in Kosovo. We learn more, give more, share freely, and serve boldly. Are you ready to tackle the tough stuff? To go the distance to make a difference? Then we have a place where you belong. Join us at peacecorps.gov.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong?
Chris, I did not even know I was going to roll it up at the line. What if you're wrong? Do I have your permission? I don't know how to figure out a way to make sure we have permission from you and your label or anybody else to play this song on the show.
I grant it.
This is my new favorite song. I'll make sure it's in my board.
Oh,
what if you're
thanks
wrong?
Thanks a lot. The chemtrails come in the second verse.
Oh, do they? The chemtrails. It's really, and I just.
Chemtrails in the sky, false flags everywhere. The president's a hologram and no one even cares.
It's so crazy. We are. I know that when we first met, as you mentioned earlier, during the first Trump administration, it had to be appalling to watch this from Canada unfold on election night and everything leading up to it, right? The debacle after the debate. I mean, like, it was funny. I'll never forget. I was changing my son's diaper, right? Now we had put on the debate and I started screaming and Steve said, we have to turn it off. Like right away, I knew that we were in trouble. And so it had to be appalling, like from that moment on, that roll towards the election.
It was just stunning. One of the most blistering essays about it that I saw was from a Canadian conservative writer who's an independent-minded conservative named Andrew Coyne, C-O-Y-N-E. And if you do a search on Coyne, Trump, it may come up. He just said, it was just being sober and facing this new reality. And it's, it's very dark.
Yeah, it is. And somebody just texted, how can conservatives in the USA, Canada, or anywhere else possibly think that Trump is a conservative? And I will say this, Stephen, in Grayslake. Hello, thank you for texting. I will say this. I don't think it matters what he seems, what his past has been, what his politics are, because he's able to whip up this fervor. He gloms onto this imagery. I mean, there's so many people who send me hateful messages, and if I go to their page, they'll have him like in these Christ-like poses, with like the light shining down. There's a woman I used to work with who does think that he is the anointed one, but so there's some folks in that part of the thinking, which is like he's a chosen one and he was shot at and he survived and it was so he could do God's work here. And then there are people who see him as a useful tool to get through their agenda, whether it's the oligarchy or the religious fanatics on the far right. So I think there's a lot of different elements to that. And as far as conservatives in Canada, I think that they see it as somebody who was sticking it to the libs. We're owning the libs, the wokeism. It's insane.
Yeah, and there's a curious thing, and this is particularly true, I think, on the evangelical right, which is to attribute these characteristics, these wonderful characteristics to Trump that he doesn't even claim for himself.
Right.
This sort of holiness and this closeness to God, and I think they just really want those things to be true, and then just give him those characteristics, and he kind of smiles and to himself, and it's kind of unbelievable at times. But of course, we'll admit it if we're wrong. If he is the anointed one,
and absolutely. I mean, at the pearly gates, I'll be like, my bad. Oh, he's the one at the gates, deciding who comes in and who doesn't. All right, my bad. I was wrong.
Someday it just kind of happened that I realized, and maybe you came to this conclusion too, that his little story about shooting a guy on Fifth Avenue and not losing supporters, you realize that is literally true. Yeah. You could just play the scenario out in your mind. He shot a guy, but he probably had it coming, or he was a threat to him, and he probably did the right thing.
Oh, everything that he has done or said, they've again twisted their logic in order to make it not even just palpable, right? But to glorify it, right? When he said he grabbed women by the vagina, they were like, "Oh, it's locker room talk," and and basically like it was kind of cool that he made fun of a reporter who had a disability. They somehow again made that, and everybody, I don't know if you remember this, but I had standing bets with people that I thought he could win, and not only like over and over again, because I saw so much, and I wonder if it's people who have been at the sharp end of a stick, who have been in situations where we know where the dangers are sometimes, or that we're alert to the threats, and everybody else is kind of like, he's amusing, he's entertaining. No.
I think back to my mother a lot, because my mother had taken a fairly cynical viewpoint when I was in my early teens, and she, at times, I was never sure about this, but she would vote for the worst candidate that she could find, because she thought it had to get bad before it got better, that it had to get worse. And I disagreed, and I was, I was excited about Jimmy Carter and things like that, and no, it's we just need somebody really bad. And I think, well, here it is.
Yeah.
And I sort of came around to the viewpoint in a way too, because I thought, we have all of this this long struggle between Democrats and Republicans, and this is ongoing, and what's happening in democracy. And I thought, do things really just need to get worse before we see the end result of this?
It's an interesting philosophy. I mean, so in the idea being that if we see how bad it can get, then we'll do the right thing.
Right.
Okay.
And I never agreed with it then, and I still don't. But I can see where at some point, if this is what you support, this is what you wanted to have happen, then perhaps it has to happen, and then we recover.
So the fart around and find out sort of thing is, and this, everybody else is finding out, is the hard part. We all get punished. Yeah. I will say, I remember the night that, and I've talked about this many times, the night that Trump won the first election. I was on the air. He was taking the stage as I was closing out my show, and I kind of talked to a young woman through. She called and she was terrified. She was a young woman of color with a disability. And I kind of talked her through it, but I didn't want to go home because Griffin was only 13, and it was just so hard to come home. But one of the things I told him was this will make people do things they never thought they were capable of doing. And I think we've seen a lot of that. Now, what we're going to need from everybody is to now never let our guard down again. This has to be showing up at meetings, even if it's, maybe a virtual meeting, find out what your local electeds are doing. Do you feel like people in Canada are, that was something I was going to ask you earlier. What are the voting rates like in Canada? Do Canadians take their voting and their elections differently than we do in the United States?
Voting rates are generally higher. And there's none of this attempt to suppress the vote. There are lots of efforts made to make it easier.
What? What is that? What's that like?
I voted in my first election there just a couple of years ago, or not even that, and I couldn't be there on election day, and then I couldn't be there for this early voting period, and then so no, you can just go out to this office and do it. And I ended up writing this choice on a piece of paper and handing it to a person and putting it in a box, and so that's and really, the attempt to suppress voting in the United States is fairly new for us too. I don't remember this years ago, but this is a new reality, and we forget that other countries aren't doing this. Other countries are actually encouraging people to vote.
Yeah, it seems so unique and quaint. They were encouraging folks to vote and making it easier. Okay, fine, that's fine, because they were trying to cover their loss by saying that Trump and Musk the voter ID law did pass in Wisconsin. That was their goal anyway. They didn't really. They knew they were going to lose a Supreme Court race. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
No.
I'm so happy she won because it's a 10-year position. So
that's really impressive, and like I say, 10 percentage point difference. Yeah,
that is wild. What, are you coming back to the States again in the near future? Do you have plans?
Yeah, next week. I should mention I'm going to be playing in the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville on Tuesday.
You're going to be in Nashville on Tuesday? That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it just came up here very recently to juggle some travel plans around. So I'm actually going back to Canada and then returning to play the opera Tuesday, and then we played a Nashville place called the Station Inn, well-known bluegrass music club there.
Excellent. And folks can find all of your music, Chris Jones and the nightdrivers.com?
It's chrisjonesgrass.com.
That's right. I forgot.
It's hard. There are a lot of Chris Joneses. So I think if you go to chrisjones.com, you get a realtor. And
really, there's a lot of Chris Joneses?
Yeah, it seems funny. Strange. I know to me it sounds like a unique name, but to other people,
I know a couple of Joneses myself. I might be related to them.
It's a unique name, but a lot of people were given it.
Are you Welsh, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, come on. I know some Welsh people as well. Yeah. That's Chris Jones and the Night Drivers tomorrow night at the Epiphany Center for the Arts at 201 South Ashland. Shows at 7:30. Go to epiphanychai.com. Hands Off 2025. Our friend Sarah Garza Resnick. Go to personalpack.com. Thank you, Lady B. Randy Rhodes is up next. Followed by Matt McNeil. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Source Solar and Monaco Brewing Company. Bye, everybody, at 11:50 a.m., 9:50 a.m., and 8:20 a.m. Bye, everybody.
If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Tom, loyal Home Sweet Home Chicago listener, contacted us for a HELOC